Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl Mini Mindset Reset. I'm your host, Danielle. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, a life coach to women, and author, one thing has become abundantly clear. So much of what gets in our way in our daily lives is not only how we think, but what we think, our mindset. Because of that, every other week, I'm taking your requests and questions and handing over quick, easy to use, practical strategies and life tools to help you shift your thinking, create calm, help you understand and express your emotions, harness your inner power, and learn how to navigate your personal story in 15 minutes or less. After all, how else can you get your life together? So let's shift your perspective with the tools and conversations that help you in the throes of change. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast mini mindset reset starts right now. Sadly, we live in a world where being offended even by the simplest, the littlest things is kind of the norm. It's kind of the standard. Yet by not getting offended so easily, you actually minimize your stress levels, take down anxiety, and open yourself up to new ideas, new thought processes, even new emotions, and even new experiences. Stop being offended by everything. If this is you, I get it. I understand. And so does Bella Jean from Portland, Oregon. She wrote in and said, Danielle, I have been working on growing and becoming a better person over the last year, but there's something that I can't quite grow out of yet. I love the yet. I can't seem to grow out of not being offended or taking offense when someone questions my thoughts or feelings, or when my family tells me I'm wrong because they haven't done all of the work on themselves that I've done on me. It's exhausting. It's truly tiring. And I want to let things slide off my shoulders, but I don't know how. I've looked, I've researched, but everything I try doesn't stick. Can you help? Bella Jean, you know I can, girl. So let's get to it. And let's be really honest. All of us need to learn the art of letting things slide. As to how, well, let's break that down, okay? But first, let's tackle why we get offended in the first place. Here's the reality. Our ego doesn't like to be threatened. Everyone's ego is the same. It doesn't like when something goes against your value system. It doesn't like when your self-image or your self-esteem is challenged in any way, in any shape, in any form. Your ego's job is to keep you safe, just like your brain. If you've listened to this podcast, you've heard me say that more times than not. Your ego's job is to partner with your brain and your thoughts and keep you safe too. When people question who we are, or they question something we strongly believe, we become offended if others don't agree, right? It's natural. The ego tries to keep you safe. And while being offended may seem like a quick and easy thing to get over, guess what? It's actually not. It actually can impact your sense of stress and really influence your anxiety from the inside out. We are left feeling these negative emotions, which, of course, by now you should know takes you down a rabbit hole that it takes so long to get out of for so many people. And that rabbit hole can make you feel self-conscious. It makes you lean into doubt. I'm not good enough. What if? We lean into those unhealthy coping mechanisms. We jump into the blame cycle. We may be triggered. You want me to stop, don't you? Right? Just that one little thing, being offended, can do so much. So how can we stop it? How can we shift? And I normally give you step-by-step instructions and little tools to use. This is more of a thought process. This is more of a practice, a reality, a shift, if you will. And so that's how you stop, is by really changing the thought pattern. So let's dive into a handful of thought changes that really can take you out of offense. The first thing that you have to look at and realize is why. Why is it you are offended? Truthfully, most things can change or be figured out by asking yourself a question and running down the rabbit hole, right? So why am I upset? Why am I upset by what's happening? Why do I take offense to this? Is this something that I don't understand? Is it something that I've never experienced before? Does this remind me of a past experience that didn't go well? What is the issue? And you run down the line of thinking. What is the problem? It's this. The word and comes in next. And I don't like it. Why? Well, because such and such. And you keep going until you have a true understanding of where the offense is coming from. And is this really the other person? Or is this the way that you are connecting to the moment? Remember, you may have heard me say we are meaning-making machines. This is what I'm talking about. You're experiencing a moment. You're putting meaning to it. You're deciding how you will connect to it. And that then changes the trajectory of how you respond. If you put this in practice, you teach yourself to practice the pause. If you get to the why, you have time to really reflect in the moment, and that reflection becomes very organic. When you practice the pause, you take assumption out and you get down to the facts. Facts allow you to know whether or not it's even worth getting offended in the first place. The second shift comes down to what you may have heard as reading between the lines, right? And what does that mean? It means really understanding what's healthy criticism and what is someone really trying to offend or looking to be rude. Let's be honest, some people get off by hurting other people. Those people truly are looking for you to become offended because it allows them to feel good about what they're doing. And then there are those other people that really have true intentions. They want you to see your shortcomings. They want you to see the blind spots so that you can grow. Healthy criticism sounds like, you know what, you could have done better on this project. Let me show you how. Or you can learn to communicate differently. Those things are not meant to hurt, but they're to help. Rudeness and true offense are nasty words with no purpose. Learn to identify the difference. Then ask yourself, is my response necessary? Does this person or this thought deserve my time? Generally, no, right? So really get into a space where you can identify, is this person trying to help me or is this person trying to hurt me with no purpose? The third thing is just to practice compassion. How many of us say things that come out differently than intended? I know I have, and no one is perfect. We must practice compassion because sometimes we offend without meaning to, and sometimes we say things that are huge mistakes. Communication is messy, and we have to remember that our own imperfection causes offense sometimes. So if you're on the receiving end of that, realize that when someone says, I didn't mean for it to come out that way, don't be offended. Realize they're human. We have to allow compassion to be in all communication, in all experiences. The next shift is to embrace differences. You may have heard the saying, agree to disagree. I am not a huge fan of that, to be honest, because that really gets into a space where one person feels like the other person is wrong. This is where we often get offended because we've met a stopping point where our perspectives, our thoughts, our alignment isn't equal, right? Someone doesn't align with our thought process. Our perspectives are really gained through our experiences. And if we haven't had that experience, guess what? We don't have a perspective for it. We may be able to look on the outside of it and see it, but we may not have true understanding of it. And if we don't have a perspective for it, it's a really great opportunity to not be offended by the lack of our experience, by not meeting the understanding, and instead of shifting into learning. This is a place where learning takes place of the offense. You can't learn if you're not open. You can't learn if you're not willing to place yourself in a variety of situations with a variety of people and backgrounds. a variety of viewpoints. It's really beautiful when you embrace differences because it allows you to be open to everything, closed to nothing, to learn, to experience, not to agree, to disagree, but instead be open. Even views and opinions that are distinctly different than your own teach you something. They're there to help you better understand not only the world around you or the relationship that you're having or the people that you're around, but also yourself. The only way to do that is not to be offended when you meet something new, when you meet something you've never experienced, when you've met something that you don't understand. The fifth thing, the last thing, right? This is the mindset shift here, is really be willing to listen. This, of course, goes hand in hand with being willing to embrace differences, but it's hard to be offended when you're focused on listening. How is that true? Because if you're focused on what's being said, instead of waiting to respond or listening through a closed mindset, you gain insight. And guess what? When we gain insight, it's really difficult to be offended. You don't have to agree with everything that's being said. That I want you to hear 100 times over. You don't have to agree. But also, if you don't agree, you don't have to be offended. You can take advantage of knowing that there's more than one way to think about anything, just like there's more than one way to get to a single destination. When you think in this way, you begin to engage respectfully with others. What being offended comes down to, if you really want to know, and you may not love what I'm about to say, and that's okay, right? Don't be offended. It comes down to rightness. When you are easily offended, you really feel like you're right and that your opinions are right, that they're correct. And there is a black and white rhythm to everything you think, feel, and do. And guess what? It's not true. There will always be more than one way to solve the equation. Like I said, more than one way to the same destination. When you're offended, you are grasping your beliefs too tightly. There is great value to hold yourself to a standard and yet in the same breath know that there's more than one standard. Whether it's something small like someone being rude in the grocery store or cutting you off on the freeway or having a heated discussion with someone, realize that you can save yourself so much wasted energy by not connecting with the things. You don't have to agree to disagree. You can simply say interesting perspective and move on. If it isn't worth your energy, it certainly isn't worth your mindset shifting. People will say and do whatever it is that they need to do to keep themselves safe, to have their ego met and stroked. And you don't have to be party to that kind of dysfunction. All you have to say is, I'm open to everything, closed to nothing, not offended by how you live your life and your opinion, but instead know what works for me. And that's all that matters. Stop being offended. Instead say, I'm open. I'm willing to learn. And even when I learn, if that doesn't align, I can say, great, good for you. Interesting perspective. Bella Jean, I hope this helps. I challenge you to open your mind and become unoffended. I know it's challenging with family, but know that they just haven't caught up with the growth that you have experienced, and that's okay too. I challenge all of you to think in that same manner and to live unoffended. Is this really worth my mindset? Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl mini mindset reset. If you have a subject or a strategy request, email us at getyourlifetogethergirl@gmail.com. Or you can visit our website at getyourlifetogethergirl.com. If you're looking for daily inspiration or tips and tools, join the growing community at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Thank you for being a valuable member of this community. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.